everywhere, GBS.
Well, a very good morning once again, and thank you very much for joining us on GBS Morning Extra. As I mentioned to you earlier today, we are joined by two guests. But first, our first guest this morning is going to help us tackle the political issues that are going on in the country. But first, I would like to engage her in the what her view is on the ongoings of in the country, the updates on the COVID-19, and yesterday the government actually announced that we had 12 more cases, bringing the total tally to 355. My guest this morning is Winfred Asiko Abuti, a political analyst and youth leader here in Nairobi. Good morning, Winfred.
Good morning,
How are
Timothy.
you doing? How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Yeah, you're staying home, you're staying safe, or you're still going to work?
I'm working from home actually. I'm staying safe and making sure that I don't get infected with this virus.
Nice. Very quickly, just going to the point, Winfred. Right now, the country announced yesterday that our cases have reached positive. The cases that tested positive reached a total of 355 now. That means, you know, yesterday we had 12 more cases. What do you make of the situation, Winfred? And when you look around, I would like to get your view on what you think, how the government is handling the whole issue continuously, and how the Kenyans are also responding to the cases.
First of all, I want to say that this pandemic, no one is invincible to it. All of us are affected because the whole world has been affected with most of the countries being US, Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. So we're not invincible to this. And so most of the countries in Africa have been affected. So Kenya is not invincible to this pandemic. And we've been tremendously affected in a way. And this has really brought an economic crisis and even a halt to so many activities that are supposed to be taking place. Like schools opening up, people closing their jobs, others being laid off. So first of all, I want to reiterate the fact that COVID-19 has actually brought the economy down. So what the government has put in place, or the measures that have been put in place, they are good because they are actually helping us to curb this pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And maybe, Winfred, I'd just like to know your view on the recent, you know, we've seen in the past week, and which an issue that even the CSAs and also the president himself weighed in on, you know, the issue of Kenyans running away or escaping quarantine holding centers. What do you make of this? What is your view on the same?
First of all, I want to blame these political elites, the political class, because we have been told that 40 billion have been spent since this pandemic encountered us. So what my issue is, this money that is being utilized by this strategic team that has been put place by the president, where is the money that is being used? Because most of people are going to quarantine at their own cost. So my question is, if really people are being put in quarantine, then the government is supposed to be in charge. So people running away from these quarantine centers maybe will be because of the conditions and maybe the high expenses that have been put in place.
But then don't you think that running away from those facilities and, you know, going home or to wherever you're going is putting other Kenyans at risk? And even if the conditions are not good, why not find another way of addressing it instead of running away from the quarantine centers?
I support you that they are not supposed to run away from these quarantine centers, because this is going to culminate into an exuberance of this disease affecting more individuals in the whole country. So if they have been put at quarantine centers and they have been people think, or the doctors are thinking that they need to be quarantined for the 14 days because they might be affected, it is just logic that they're supposed to stay in these quarantine centers, my view.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look around, if we are reluctant, I mean, there's one quote by the cabinet secretary for health, Mutahi Kagwe, which I mean has gone viral in Kenya, that if we misbehave, then this virus is going to, hit us very hard. Winfred, the president is putting a lot of measures to try and just, make things much easier for Kenyans, right? Last week on Saturday, we saw he launched the National Hygiene Program, which actually intends to employ about 23,000 young people, especially targeting informal settlements and areas like this. What is your take on that? And can such measures work in terms of trying to, boost the young people economically, but also at the same time, he says this is also targeted at trying to curb the spread of the coronavirus?
What I would love to say about what the president has done, first of all, I want to register my first of all, I want to appreciate the president. I want to register my appreciation to the president because he has done well, because most of the people, most of the youths have menial jobs, and most of them are working on contracts, or some have even been laid off. Some have even left for unpaid leaves. So I support the president on the initiative that he's put in place, because most of the youths are at home and they have been affected economically. There's an economic crisis and a state repression. So I really do support what the president has put in place. And I would love to urge all the youth to apply for these jobs and make sure that at least they get into the program that has been put in place, so that people, most of their families benefit and even themselves benefit, so that we don't come up with issues of rent, the way people have, the way landlords are behaving with their tenants.
Yeah, very true.
And even food for the youth.
Yeah, Kenyans are talking of a total shutdown in case of, if the virus spreads continuously. But then, in Kenya, God forbid that it should reach to that point. But then, compared to other countries that we've seen go ahead of us, we are still in the very early stages of the virus, and maybe more is still to come if not, enough measures are taken in terms of community infection, which stage we are now almost entering into. Do you think that going forward, Kenya is doing, or the government is doing as much as it should? Because they've been talking about the launch of mass testing, but what we've seen is announcements being made continuously. Since last week, we've seen Mutahi Kagwe, the other Saturday when he received the consignment from China, he said that the government is going to start mass testing. But then about 2-3 days after that, we hear Dr. Mwangangi, who is the CAS in the ministry, say that, lack of enough kits is making them not being able to proceed. But then again, the president surfaces on Saturday and launches the mass testing program. Do you think that Kenya is ready to do a mass testing?
First of all, I want to say that we are not an economic stable country. So us receiving a consignment from China, this just shows that we really need help. And I want to say that Kenyans, we are not able to have a total lockdown because of what we are as a country as per now. We have so many loans, and we have a lot of issues that are affecting us. We have corruption scandals and all that. So it is very hard for us to go for a total lockdown. But as long as we follow the government interventions that have been put in place, we will be in a good position to help curb this pandemic, and we will be in a good position to be able to move forward in a good way. Another thing that I would love to reiterate is that first, the government should first come into amicable agreements with the people in this country, so that if we are doing anything, we should do it with one heart, so that everybody is participating in the whole affair of curbing this pandemic.
Winfred, I want to to shift gears to some political issues. I know that's your tough, and the first issue that I want to discuss this morning is about what we are seeing in the papers this morning. We are seeing in the papers this morning the Deputy President William Ruto actually dispelling thoughts, or the school of thought, that President Uhuru Kenyatta has the unilateral powers to form alliances in Jubilee Party this time, and he has refuted that. Do you think that Jubilee Party is actually falling apart? Of course, we know that there have been divisions, there have been cracks in the Jubilee Party, the Kieleweke, Tanga Tanga team, and some other factions that have also come out of that. But then, do you think that the Deputy President William Ruto will be able to sail through with his stand on this?
What I would love to say is that, first of all, the political class and the political elites have now come to a halt with their noise making left, right, and center because of what we are having as a country. And I want to say that Jubilee, the divisions that are in Jubilee, are because of the different ideologies that people are reading from the different scripts, starting from the party leader to the deputy party leader and to the other officials in the party. So if people are reading on a different script, that means there's no party. A party is only liable to its functioning if everybody is in acceptance with the laws and regulations that have been put in place. But if you find that there are divisions in that party, it means the party is not there anymore. So I would love to say that, first of all, it will be a tussle for the deputy president. He has a lot of work to do. He has a lot of things to do. So what he needs to do maybe is try to work more harder for him to get whatever he wants. But it will not be easy for him. It is not going to be a walk in the park. That is just logic.
When you say more harder, work more harder, do you mean that he should do this within the party? Because according to the Deputy President William Ruto, he was cited recently saying that the objections proposed in the changes to the National Management Committee of the Jubilee Party, those are a sign of Jubilee being a democratic party, and which allows members to also participate in every decision making that it takes.
I support the president's sentiments. He's the party leader and he has everything. He has the mandate to do whatever he wants to do with the party. So I don't think if it is supposed to bring politics in the party. It is his right to do whatever he wants to do with the party.
Are you sure about that? Because I mean, the Jubilee Party has a constitution, and I don't think there's any constitution that says that the party leader has a unilateral decision to make, alliances and so on and so forth. Recently, there have been talks of, the goat eating that happened at Atuoli's place. Baba was there, Murathe was there, and some other key leaders were also there. Do you think that these people are forming another coalition?
Okay, me and you know that we cannot run away from the fact that politics is the order of the day for Kenyans, and I would love to say that most politics in Kenya rely on the system. So if the system is not for you, you'll have a hard time in this country. If it is for you, then you're good to go. So if it is going against the deputy president, he should reflect on himself and maybe try to find out where he went wrong. And if there's any political alliance that is coming in place, I don't think actually Kenyans are ready for a Ruto presidency. What I'm so surprised is the way he really wants to be the president by fire, by force. It doesn't work out like that. If he wants to be the president, maybe he should come low on Kenyans and request us humbly to vote for him. It is not by fire, by force.
But Winfred, it is a fact, and this is something that we cannot, bury our heads in the sand about, that the deputy president actually wields some, logical amount of power in the Jubilee Party. If you've seen recently, especially in the divisions, and also in the petitions that were sent to the, the organization that, conducts political party issue, the registrar of political parties, the objections that were raised there, the signatures that were sent by members of the Jubilee who are in support of the Deputy President. Can we just wish Deputy President William Ruto away? We cannot.
I already told you we are not going to wish him well, and I'm on the contrary opinion that maybe they should just they should come together with the president and agree on some issues. They have been brothers and they are in the same party, so the wrangles, they can solve them amicably without involving us Kenyans, because that is not our issue. Our issue right now, some of us people don't have food at home, some are not going to work, so I don't think if we are really so much ready for their tussles and their battles. Well,
Winfred, you're making me laugh. It's Kenyans who are members of political parties and supporters. It's their democratic right to actually vote. And that actually makes them part and parcel of whatever is happening. If they are Jubilee supporters or if they are voters, then they need to know what is going on within the parties, because when they vote, I want to believe that Kenyans going forward are now geared towards voting more on, principles, party principles and issues that are raised, as opposed to voting to individuals.
Constitutionally, it is right for Kenyans to vote. It is our constitutional right,
yes,
according to the Constitution. So I don't think when the right time comes, we will vote for the right person that we want. If it is the Deputy President, if it is the coalition between Uhuru and Raila, that will still be okay, as long as the person we're going to choose is not someone who's so selfish or who has selfish interest, or a person of individualism, or a person that is not ready to serve Kenyans. So when the right time comes, we will choose the right people at the right time. But right now, I think if the Deputy President is not happy with whatever is happening in his party, he can as well just go and form his own party.
Winfred, you're sounding so much like Murathe, who always has this card of, shape up or shape out. Spare me, because when you look at the party, Jubilee Party, it has a constitution, and one of the provisions in the Jubilee Constitution Party constitution denies President Uhuru Kenyatta sweeping powers to unilaterally enter into any form of a coalition or a merger with any opposition party. Actually, the article, which is Article 32, continues to state that says that the poses a very big hurdle for President Uhuru Kenyatta for even vying or pushing for a possible pre-2022 coalition with his now friend Raila Odinga.
Any agreement.
It is a party constitution. It is a party constitution. It is not. It's not just any wishful thinking. It's the party's constitution. So it means they have to change the constitution of the Jubilee Party if he wants to get into any coalition while he's still in the Jubilee Party.
Timothy, I am a politician, and I know politics is a game of betrayal. So if you are in politics, you have to expect anything. If the Deputy President has been betrayed, maybe he needs to go and talk to his friend, the president, and come to an amicable agreement and decide on what he wants. There's a way. If you have an issue with someone, you go and talk to them. You don't just leave things as they are. There's a good when you mediate on anything, you always come to an agreement. Yeah.
But then we've seen members of the party who are allied to the president also remain adamant and, always pull out the card that President Uhuru Kenyatta is the party leader, and that everyone else underneath President Uhuru Kenyatta in the party should, read from the same script as the president, even if he is going against party politics, party constitution and party beliefs. Would you do that yourself? Would you do that yourself, Winfred, as a politician?
As a politician, I want to tell you first that politics is about interest. So if the president finds that it is his political interests have been protected, and he's the party leader, and I've already told you that this is a game of betrayal. So if he's aware that his self-interests have been secured by whichever direction he wants to take, I don't see any adamant reason for him to step aside or not to do whatever he wants to do. And if the deputy president also feels like his interests have not been protected, he has the right channels that he can use so that he can secure his position, or he can secure the party if he wants to.
I mean, if
so I am not supporting. I'm not supporting either of them. I know you want me to tell you how partisan I am. No, my ideology this morning is that if these people have an issue, let them go and solve. They have been brothers. We have seen them campaigning together. So if they have an issue, let them go sit down and solve. So let them not get Kenyans into all these strangles and all these ragtag whatevers.
You know, Winfred, I'm not trying to push you to a corner. What I'm trying basically to do, according to your own words, is that the kind of picture that you're trying to paint is that there is no honesty in Kenyan politics. If politicians can do that to each other, then what are we saying? Then we are saying that I can come and run with the party and, I mean, give a manifesto to the Wananchi, and then at the end of the day, if that manifesto doesn't seem to, you know, suit all my needs or interests, then I'm free to violate that and, you know, lie to Kenyans. And I mean, as long as I find something else that suits my own interest. Is that what you're saying the Kenyan politics is all about?
Timothy, this is not about the Kenyan politics. This is about the international politics. Even in Congo, DRC Congo, before it gained independence, we had the first prime minister, that was Patrice Lumumba, but he was just killed a year after he was sworn in.
But this
was done with his friends. So what I'm just trying to tell you is that this is a game of betrayal, and this is a game of self-interest. And it is not just about in Kenya. This is just general politics. That is what people always do, even in the whole world. So if it is happening in Kenya, it is not any news. This is just what is happening in politics.
What should you make of the South African politics then, if that is your school of thought? What should you make of the South African politics, where President Nelson Mandela, the late, spends 28 years in prison, comes out and rises to the presidency, and still even stretches out his hand and brings someone like de Klerk into his own government, and in his first foreign trip, he leaves de Klerk in charge of the country? What do you make of that kind of politics? Is that a different set of politics? Is there a betrayal in that?
And I already told you that this is now about individualism, who you really are, what kind of person you are. Are you a patriot? Are you a nationalist? Are you an African, a Pan-Africanist? Nelson Mandela was a good person, was a good man, and I can say he had a good heart. So it depends with people. So politics has different people in the whole world. So it just depends on who is who and at what time and in which country and in what situation and how it has happened.
So are you admitting that these politicians in Kenya, they are not Pan-Africanists, they are not patriotic?
First I want to tell you that some of them are, some of them are not. So it just depends on who you're talking about. But I can clearly and openly tell you that it is logic that we are human beings, and to err is human, and we are not invisible to anything. Whatever we do as human beings, this is just us. We cannot change our behaviors. No. We cannot change anything that we do. This is just us human beings.
Well, thank you very much, Winfred. Asiko Abuti, a political analyst and a youth leader here in Nairobi. Thank you very much for your time. I really would love to, you know, push on with this, but then time is not on our side. Do have yourself a lovely day, Winfred, and thank you very much for honoring our invitation this morning.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate, and have a wonderful day. But just as I leave, I want to tell Kenyans, first of all, let us have a positive mental image. Let us believe that this pandemic will go to a halt at some point. Mm-hmm. And it's going back to normalcy, so we should not get worried. Things are going to be fine. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people each and every day that attitudes are greater than facts. Mm-hmm. So let us have the attitude that it is going to be well. It shall just be well.
Thank you very much, Winfred. On that point, attitude is better than facts, she says, and it's better to have Yeah, it's better to have a good attitude towards everything and every challenge. Thank you, Winfred. Viewer, let's take another quick break, but then when we come back, I want to engage you on a more constructive or on another important aspect also of our discussion this morning. I want to bring in another person who will now be talking to us about self-sustainability. I mean, when you the situation right now is kind of very tricky and difficult. People are struggling to pay their rent. People are struggling to buy their food. Besides that, there are other recurring expenses that we cannot run away from. I'm talking about energy. What kind of energy are you using at home at this time? Well, I want to give you other alternatives, and my next guest will just be doing that for us this morning. So let's take another quick break, and then I'll be right back with more.